Hey, my handsome ladies and gentlemen, this is Shmeaty, and in today's video, we've got a battle submission from friend of the channel, Potato, as he's going to be showing us his return purified FERALIGATR in the Open Ultra League. He's sworn to me that this is the sauce. Personally, I don't believe him, but stick around. We're going to see if it is indeed the sauce. If you guys find enjoyment in today's video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And thank you to Potato for today's video. Cobalion leading into the Tentacruel. Pretty neutral lead on paper all around, as Cobalion and Tentacruel both hitting each other for resisted damage. We're going to tank a charge move and bring in our FERALIGATR. Now this trainer is the exact reason why we bring in our FERALIGATR as the save switch here. They're going to fire off a move, and FERALIGATR is generally walled by a singular Poliwrath's existence, but not today. We're going to fire off this return. Return, even debuffed, is going to smack that Poliwrath below 50% HP, and they're going to fire off another charge move here. We are going to be able to no-shield this, as it is going to be guaranteed to be resisted damage unless they're running Dynamic Punch. And why would you ever do such a thing in the Open Ultra League? Nevertheless, we are going to be able to fire off a Hydro Cannon. We are double cheeked up here, so if you want to take switch, you are going to have to give us a shield, as we've committed 0 shields into this matchup. They are going to shield, and now Cobalion can come in, deny the energy from the Poliwrath with the Sacred Sword that we had banked, and now this forces the opponent to make a pretty difficult decision, as up a shield, our Cobalion's going to cook their Tentacruel, and they didn't have any residual energy. We're going to bring in our Giratina. The game is stuttering so much, these battles are sped up. That looked like it was in slow motion still, and we are going to be able to get off our Shadow Ball, and that was on CMP apparently. I didn't even know. Anyway, they are going to fire off the Psychic Fangs, and we are going to no-shield the first, as future ones would be doing more damage. Speaking of doing more damage, the Psychic Fangs are allowing these Dragon Tails to do more and more damage to us, and we are going to have to commit a shield here, as we don't want to go down before reaching this Shadow Ball and potentiating either their last shield or big damage to get this Steelix into a range where it can be cleaned up by our Cobalion in the back, and that's exactly what's going to happen. They did not reach the move, and now we're going for the Sacred Sword bait on this Tentacruel. Tentacruel tasked with a tough decision, shielding up the Sacred Sword. Oh no, and that is cookies for this game. This game is absolutely over. They're gonna scald us. It doesn't matter that we called the Acid Spray. We're gonna make this Stone Edge here. Stone Edge is going to be doing some solid damage onto the Tentacruel, and now we do have to shield up whatever this is. It doesn't matter that we're shielding the Acid Spray bait, as we are going to comfortably make the Stone Edge, and this is going to get the Tentacruel into double kick down range. You're never going to Poison Jab down the Steel type. GG's to this trainer. Potato absolutely taking a page out of the Shmeaty playbook here, as he's going to start the recording too late. Cobalion into Giratina is a terrible lead, and we're going to save switch into our FERALIGATR, and the Giratina switches out, not realizing they had us fully walled there. Every charge move we own is completely resisted by that Giratina, but they knew nothing better. A win's a win in my book. We're going to fire off that Hydro Cannon, taking the Cobalion below half health. They're going to fire off a Sacred Sword, and the game is lagging again. Weak connection, obviously, game. Tell me something I don't know. We're going to fire off another Shadow Claw after tanking a Sacred Sword we very likely shouldn't have. And we are going to get some solid damage onto the Cobalion, and we are going to fire off this last move on CMP. We're going to zero charge it. This is going to KO regardless. And they did get our energy out of us, but we did win switch advantage. In comes the Typhlosion, but Typhlosion's worst nightmare has arrived in the Giratina Origin. Giratina Origin, if you didn't know, walls the charge attacks from Typhlosion. They're going to fire off the Blast Burn and switch, bring in their own Giratina, but this is the altered variant, and we are going to bring in our Cobalion, as Cobalion wants nothing to do with the Typhlosion, so keeping it away from there is probably our best play. They're going to fire off a move onto our Cobalion. We don't care what energy this is, and they do have Shadow Sneak, which makes this a little more awkward for us. We are not hitting for very substantial damage whatsoever, and they are going to fire off another charge attack. This is probably one of the most boring matchups you can probably play out in the Open Ultra League, and we're going to see a lot more of it in the next season, when a lot of the current fighters receive that long-awaited counter nerf. We are going to land a Stone Edge on the Giratina. It wouldn't do very much damage at all. They're going to fire off a move onto our Cobalion, and we are going to no-shield it. and it is the Dragon Claw. Unfortunately, we do get KO'd. We're going to bring in our Giratina Origin and no-shield the Dragon Claw, as we know that they have two. We now have to put up a shield on this Dragon Claw, though, and this is going to do big damage. We're going to fire off that Ominous Wind after throwing two Shadow Claws, seeing that Typhlosion came in. Ominous Wind is going to grab the shield, and we are going to throw two more and fire off this Shadow Ball. This game is getting increasingly close. Are we going to be able to take the Dubsky here? Let's see it. The game lagging, we make the Ominous Wind, but what? Did we just lose CMP? What was that? This game is so terrible. GG's to this trainer. In the next game, we're going to lead Cobalion into Annihilate, a devastatingly bad lead for us. We are going to save switch into our FERALIGATR and bait out the Tentacruel. This is another reason why Potato's running Return on this FERALIGATR, as Return, usually when FERALIGATR is walled, it is walled, but here we have a move to hit the Tentacruel for neutral damage. We're going to fire off that Return, getting the Tentacruel quite low. They're going to fire off a Scold and crucially not get a debuff here. We're going to build up, and the game is stuttering again. Oh my goodness, Potato, I don't know what's happening right now. I am so sorry this is happening to you. Niantic is absolutely victimizing you with the amount of lag you're experiencing. We're going to fire off this Hydra Cannon, and we're double cheeked up, so the Tentacruel is going to have to give us both of those shields or both of those cheeks. What do they opt to do? They are going to give us both of those cheeks, meaning that we got two shields from them, and we are going to bring in our Cobalion and look for an aggressive double kick down. This is a very nice play. They're going to fire off the Scald, but they're never going to be able to KO even if they make two, and they do not. We get the double kick down of the Tentacruel. In comes the Annihilate, and we are going to bring in our Giratina. Giratina is absolutely our win con, as they have a Registeel in the back. Registeel, all of its charge moves are resisted by the Giratina Origin. This unique typing of Dragon and Ghost is coming in very clutch here, as we are going to be able to no-shield the first move. Zap Cannon gonna land, do some solid damage, getting us nearly to 50% and getting the debuff. Zap Cannon debuff is getting nerfed in the new season. Most likely going to be a 50% debuff chance. We don't know the exact stats on it quite yet, but they are going to be looking to nerf the Pokemon that have been good for a very long time. Zap Cannon number 2 is going to land onto us, doing a solid amount of damage, and we're going to switch and snipe with our Cobalion with the loaded Sacred Sword. Sacred Sword is going to be able to get the knockout on the Registeel there. Very bulky Pokemon. We're going to fire off this Stone Edge here, as Stone Edge is more base damage and is only single resisted as opposed to double resisted. We did bank the move very intelligently on our Giratina. We have the Shadow Ball loaded, they have a move loaded and win CMP, but that's not going to matter. We've got the Shadow Ball ready. Locked and loaded is the Shadow Ball, about to land on this Annihilate board. Big damage. GG's to this trainer. We got some cringe coming up in this next game. I thought we left the Charmers back in the Great League, but we've got a Charm Shadow Granbull instead, and this is unfortunate. We don't have a clean response to this with the rest of our team. The rest of our team would be taking significant damage from these Charms. Even FERALIGATR, although Shadow Claws aren't resisted like they are versus a Great League Wigglytuff, we don't really want to tank half of our life trying to get rid of this Granbull. So instead, we're going to shield once and make sure that we can either land the Stone Edge or grab both shields from this Granbull. The first bait was successful for us, which is very nice, and we are going to bring in our FERALIGATR, fire off our Hydra Cannon immediately, but unfortunately, they do make a nice catch onto their Virizion. Virizion here is going to be able to outpace us before we're able to make any meaningful energy here, and we are just going to no-shield the Leaf Blade and nearly get taken out here. We're going to be able to build up two more and fire off a move. This could potentially fake an Ice Beam, but faking an Ice Beam isn't necessary when they don't have any shields left. In comes our Giratina here, and Giratina is a wall to energy from the Virizion unless they're on Stone Edge, and in the current climate there's not a whole lot of reason for them to be on Stone Edge. They're going to fire off another move here, but I think we can just commit to the full farm down. In comes the Granbull, but Granbull has wasted its life away, as now we're just going to fire off this Shadow Ball, getting rid of the Granbull. And what do they bring in? Certainly it won't be the Virizion. We're waiting, and it is going to be a FERALIGATR in the back. We're going to build up some energy, and they are going to attempt to CMP tie us on our Shadow Ball, but we're going to hold on to our energy, knowing we won't win that CMP. Hydro Cannon will be enough to KO, and we're going to fire off this Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball onto the Shadow FERALIGATR. Will it be enough to KO? Not quite. And we are looking for that Shadow Claw down. Do we have enough HP to make a move versus the Virizion? Yes, we do. And this Ominous Wind, although is less damaged than the Shadow Ball, will take out the low HP Virizion. GG's to this trainer. A truly terrifying lead in the next match, as it's going to be Cobalion into Annihilate, but we know what to do here. We're going to save switch into our FERALIGATR, and we are met with a Greedent. However, Greedent in the Ultra League often prefers Crunch to Trailblaze. We are going to have to see what they're running. Firing off that Hydro Cannon will do some solid damage, but just like Lickitung in the Great League, we are going to need 3 Hydro Cannons to KO. We're going to fire off another Hydro Cannon onto the very bulky Greedent, and this will not prompt the shield, as they can live this very easily and not be in fear of getting Shadow Claw down. So they are going to fire off another move onto our FERALIGATR here. It's going to be the Body Slam. They are not on Trailblaze, but they now have another Slam. Are we going to respect it? No, we are not, because we have the Cobalion, which can go for the full farm down, given that all of the energy on this Pokemon will be resisted by Cobalion's typing. Cobalion is going to, of course, no shield whatever energy this is. They're going to go for the Crunch in an attempt to try to get the debuff, and they do not get it. At the last second here, they're going to fire off a move. It's likely to just be another Slam, and we are going to switch into our Giratina here. I like the play of just immediately spamming our Giratina button, because we've lost switch. There's no way that we would win switch there, so bringing in our Giratina to try to get ahead on energy against their third Pokemon is the best play we can make. They're going to bring in a Tapu Koko in the back. Tapu Koko is a little bit problematic here. They're going to be firing off that Nature's Madness. Nature's Madness is their cheapest move anyway, so they are going to successfully grab our shield. But now that they've debuffed us with the Nature's Madness, this gets interesting. We're going to fire off this Ominous Wind bait, and it grabs the shield from the Annihilate. We get the boost. We're back at neutral defense, but +1 in attack. They're going to fire off a move here. We call the Night Slash, and we are going to successfully call the Night Slash. They top left the game. I would have did the same. GG's. It's going to be Cobalion leading into Ampharos in the next game, and this is probably where we need to see this Pokemon anyway. They are going to build up 3 Volt Switches and fire their energy on Alignment, throwing the Thunder Punch as soon as they get it, but we're okay with that. We just get a free Sacred Sword worth of energy, build up a little more energy, and bring in our Giratina. Now, Giratina knows that we can tank any one move from this Cresselia. Cresselia gonna fire off the Moonblast and not get the debuff, which is, of course, very nice. We're going to build up a nice amount of energy here and fire off the Shadow Ball onto this Cresselia. Cresselia is going to put up a shield. They didn't have to shield there. I'm confident they would have lived that. But speaking of putting up a shield, that's exactly what we're going to do, because now we can force either both shields or switch advantage from this Cresselia. Firing off this Shadow Ball just before the Cresselia is able to make another Moonblast here, and the Shadow Ball does get no shielded. They do live on 1 HP, and very unfortunately we are likely going to go down to the Grass Knot here. No, we are not. On 1 HP we were able to live the Grass Knot. Absolutely massive for us as we maintain switch advantage, and FERALIGATR does not have to see this Ampharos. Back in comes the Ampharos, and they are going to tank a Sacred Sword, and we're just going to build up a little bit more energy. They make the Thunder Punch. We're going to build up just a little bit more. They're going to bring in their Poliwrath, and now we can start firing off these Sacred Swords. Sacred Sword onto the Poliwrath, going to do some solid damage, and they are going to now be met with our FERALIGATR. They're probably thinking we are so cooked if we're bringing FERALIGATR into the Poliwrath, but this trainer does not know what we have in store for them. Please, we need you to shield up this bait. We're going for the Hydro Cannon. Please expect the return. They actually called our return. Oh my goodness, Poliwrath is going to put up the shield, fire off an Icy Wind, but now all shields are down and we can land this return onto the Poliwrath. We are going to be 2 stages debuffed. It still does big damage onto the Poliwrath from the position they were in. They're going to bring in the Ampharos, get the sniper with the Volt Switch, but we're able to throw 1 and the move here. We're going to be able to pick up the KO with the Sacred Sword, and we've got the Sacred Sword banked for that Poliwrath when it comes back in. GG's to this trainer. Alright, in the next game, it's going to be Cobalion leading into Clefable, and this is a pretty fine lead for us. We're going to stay in, and they are going to be able to hit us for neutral damage with the Moonblast, but we don't really care about that fact. The Moonblast, even though it is going to be neutral, is only going to do about 50%, so we can save all that energy for later, bring in our FERALIGATR, and now FERALIGATR will be easily able to outpace the Clefable before they're able to make another Moonblast. They certainly wouldn't throw a Meteor Mash at us, at least I hope they wouldn't. They are going to continue to build up energy, and we're just going to no-shield whatever this is. We know we can live a Moonblast. We won't live it too terribly well, but they are going to bring in their Tentacruel. Tentacruel not quite ready for the move that we have, the very special return. Are they going to shield it? No, they are not, and it does big damage onto that very bulky Tentacruel. They are going to get that poison jab down, and in comes our Giratina Origin. However, one thing we have to be wary of is the Blizzard. We're going to confidently no-shield, and we get Blizzarded. Oh no, but they don't have any fast move pressure here. So we are going to be able to fire off this Ominous Wind to try to save a little bit of energy and try to pick up the KO onto this Tentacruel. Tentacruel, just too bulky, is going to be able to live that. We're going to save our Giratina on 1 HP for later. Bring in our Cobalion as they bring in their Charizard, and I hope they're not in the mood to call baits right now. Yes, they are. Our Stone Edge lands through 2 shields, and our win con has been sighted. They could have just put up a shield on that Charizard and been absolutely fine, but now Clefable going to be forced to shield up these resisted Sacred Swords as we are both so low. And now this is going to be a match of who can bait with the resisted charge moves the most effectively. We're gonna fire off another Sacred Sword. Clefable looking to call it. Their HP is just so low, and that last double kick might just do the trick. We are going to put up a shield on this final move. It's the Moonblast, but they get KO'd. GG's to this trainer. If you made it to this point in the video, thanks so much for watching, and thank you again to Potato for making today's video possible. This was a load of fun to check out these matches with this Pokemon he's been talking to me for quite some time about. Return FERALIGATR, and honestly I wasn't necessarily sold on the idea, but now that I've seen it in action, seeing what it can do in some inherently negative matchups for non-return FERALIGATR, I may have to reconsider what I was thinking before. But with all that being said, thanks again so much for watching. This has been Shmeaty. I hope to see you guys again next time, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.